Well, we've now come to Qumran, further north up the Dead Sea, and this was where the famous Dead Sea Scrolls were found, and this would be the area where they actually would have been used. This is the remains of Qumran. This is a cistern. You can see it's maybe 40 feet deep. And they were big on ritual baths. You see several. This is one here. And they said that they took a much deeper view of mikveh or ritual bathing. And there was a suggestion maybe John the Baptist had been involved, or perhaps he had either influenced them or they had influenced him. And we've come over a little ways from the village of Qumran, and we've come to see this. This is cave number 4, which is the cave that the books of the Psalms were found. And let's see if we can go inside and see what's inside today. No, it's a little too dark too far. Sorry about that. But you can say that you've seen the inside of the cave. Oops. A little hard to hold it in that kind of zoom mode. And that's where they hid them in order to keep the Romans from when they burned the city, to destroy all of their cave, or all of their writings. Okay, guys. Here's our group going in for the mud.
Feels good. Now you want to leave it on a little while.
Okay. Here, Christy.
Some people put their hair in it too.
You're washing it off, though. We are at the Dead Sea, and we're enjoying the mud bath. Well, they are. I'm not sure I'm doing the mud bath, but here's another one of our groups. And it is pretty amazing. I've been in, and you can actually get into the water and stick all 4 hands and feet up out of the water, and you don't go under. And
we're making some real money on this. That's a good color. I think I just paid.
yeah, there's Dave. He's demonstrating how you can put all the appendages up and still not sink.
Get away from me. I got pictures. He's right now. You have to be nice to me.
Well, I'm going to go back in the water, so that takes care of that. Well, welcome to Jerusalem. We're going to be heading up onto the Temple Mount, and this in front of us is where we're about to go in. Is the Dung Gate. This is or the garbage gate, as he called it, where they removed all the trash from the city. This one's not obviously one of the more beautiful gates by any means. It's a hole in the wall, actually.
It's separated. You can go to the hotel. Down.
Notice if somebody gets behind, you know, because you do, you get into the crowd. I know.
Here are the security forces all wandering the city, getting prepared for the morning.
Look up, you'll see me.
They're all in their late teens and early 20s as this is mandatory service in the military. When they get out of high school, they serve a mandatory 2 years. Although Etan was telling us that there's now a movement that probably 25% of them declare religious study or something in order to get out of service. So this is the Temple Mount, the end of the Temple Mount. The dome is the Al-Aqsa Mosque, currently on the old Temple Mount. He was pointing out that there's some, right there are some corners of an arch, and this arch would have come out. It was the largest arch found in Roman history. A set of stairs would have gone up, and that would have been one of the entrances into the onto the Temple Mount. We're just down from the Wailing Wall, and this would be a bar mitzvah for some young man in this group, heading up to the wall for his official bar mitzvah. Here again is a little outcropping of that big arch that would have come in. The foundation here with these holes through it would have been shops. One of them, the second one from the right, we were told was actually a money changer. And they called him a benchman. He would have sat on a little bench with a table. And the Spanish word for bench is banco, and that's where you get your word bank from. Kind of an interesting little point. And down below here is a mikvah, and there actually, he said there's many of them down in here. And then you can still hear that bar mitzvah up above playing away. This is the beginning of the Western Wall. On the other side of all of this buildup is the Wailing Wall, which is also part of the Western Wall. To truly understand Anderson's arch, as they call it, Anderson was the American that figured out that the arch, what the outcropping on the side of the wall was. This would be your better view.
Solomon goes onto this hill, which at that time is called,
and that would have been the largest stone arch in the world, right here.
He goes to there. Does anybody know why he goes to that particular stone? Why does he go to that particular spot? Exactly, that's the reason. Not because it's the foundation stone.
Just over from Anderson's arch is this mikveh. It's a ritual bath. You would have come down here, taken your clothes off, come down here into the water. The little wall in between would have separated you from the ones that had not been purified. You would have immersed yourself in the water at the bottom, and then come up the other side and walk back out, and then continued on toward the Temple Mount for going up to the temple. And so this is an ancient Jewish mikveh, or ritual bath. In here, as I pass through this arch, this will be the street that goes below the great Anderson arch. You can up there see the point coming off the wall. This would have been the street underneath it. It was all destroyed, and it was mainly destroyed when the Romans sacked the city in 70 AD. Because of the revolt. They came in and they burned the city and then tore down the arch, and the destruction here of this road actually was because of the weight of the huge stones being forced off and coming down and piling up. And they've cleared the one part, and then that was the way that all looked prior to the clearing that they did. And the other side here would have been what the arch would have set upon, the stairs going up, and these were the 4 expensive stores, as he said, and the one with the gouges peeking out in red, that actually is the money changer store, the one that I told you about, Banco, etc. And the stones here in the road gave way because there was an ancient sewer system underneath it. He said when they dug down under it to find out why it all collapsed, it was because of the sewer system under this section. So, and again, this is part of the western wall.
They sing psalms at the Last Supper or over the Passover.
Here we are
All of this is in
near the pinnacle. The corner of the temple would be the pinnacle up there. Cast thyself down for the angels, as it said, the devil tempts Jesus. Crossed is the Mount of Olives, huge cemetery, Jewish cemetery. And then we'll come across and we'll just give you a pan out over the city of Jerusalem.
I mean, what a privilege. I mean, it's almost as if we just need to be quiet. About what went on. And the healing that went on up there. Talk about the Hill of Bethesda on the other side.
Coming around this building with the work being put on it is part of the Al-Aqsa Mosque. And underneath is the original stairs that you would have used exiting the Temple Mount by the Jews. Now, of course, it's a Muslim site, and hopefully we'll be up on the Temple Mount here soon, as they closed it just as we got to the gate. So we're going to make another attempt. And here is a couple of the arches that have been filled in for quite a few hundred years.
That are here. And what did he say? There shall not be one stone left upon another. And we had
Christy doing a
such
talk on the
great
Bible.
picture of that on the western side. And then Jesus is on the Mount of Olives and he weeps over the city. Oh, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, thou that stonest, persecutest the prophets. I would have gathered you like a hen gathereth her chicks under her wings. And then he says, but ye would not.
Well, this corner here is kind of historic. It's got a number of things. One, this is the exit, the mantle that went over the exit from the temple. And over from it, there's a stone, if I can zoom in on it and find it here, that is in Latin. That talks about Hadrian, as Hadrian came and actually tore down the temple here, the remains, and they would eventually build a temple to Zeus. And this is thought to be the dedicatory stone from that time when Hadrian came. And the remainders of the arch are buried under the Al-Aqsa Mosque. That's what this corner structure is. And then coming down, you'll see some of our people standing on the actual stone floor, or the first step coming out of the
Mary and Joseph coming back out of that temple.
coming out of
out of that walkway right there.
the temple. So Jesus would have had to have walked across this stone at least once. And he tells the story, his guide that actually taught him how to guide said that this the guide had brought Neil Armstrong, who was the first man to stand on the moon, and he stood at this point and said that this was more of an honor for him to stand on this point than it was to stand on the moon. And so where they're standing is actually the actual foundation step of the exit from the first century Temple Mount. They're dancing and having a good time. It's apparently a bar mitzvah moving toward the wall. We have just had one after another out there having fun. Quite a scene. Another bar mitzvah here. Well, we are here at the Western Wall. You can see the ladies' heads all popped over this rise. That's because there's a separation. They're not allowed to be on this side of the wall. And so they're watching their sons come in and get bar mitzvahed. And Etan was telling us that these are special, brought in just for the bar mitzvah days. They're places where there are Torahs. And you can see this little boy was just in there kissing the Torah. And the brown stains on the wall is from the eons of people placing their forehead against the wall. And that's part of the way that they pray. And he told me to be sure we go into the tunnel. And he said this is very interesting to go in and see the inside of the tunnel. Trying not to offend anybody by videoing, but just watching people go through. Hopefully none of these say no video. Wow, I never realized that. It's quiet in here. Fascinating. And here among all the chaos are some of our group peeking over the wall, watching the bar mitzvahs. Quite a scene. The women all peeking over from the other side of the wall. Here comes a young man. Young man. Well, we are here on the Temple Mount at this point. This is the Al-Aqsa Mosque, and we've been told that I guess we are not going to be allowed to go in because we're since the Intifada they've closed it to non-Muslims, which is a shame. And I'm padding around here, and this is the Dome of the Rock. Directly beneath the dome is this threshing floor that Abraham nearly sacrificed Isaac, and it's also thought to be it's in Muslim history, this is where the ladder of light extended up into heaven, where Muhammad went up into heaven and was taught by Moses, Elijah, and Christ Jesus to the Quran. So this is their sacred site. And it's also, the threshing floor is also supposed to be the exact foundations of the Holy of Holies for the Jewish faith. And Beautiful, beautiful mosaics on the outside of the building. Built in 691. He says during Crusader times they took the crescent off the top and put a cross up, and this became the Temple Church, I think he said, and the Al-Aqsa Mosque became the home of the Templar Knights Templar. And this is a I guess the original design model of the main mosque of the Dome of the Rock. And across is we're looking across the Kidron Valley, and that would be the Mount of Olives across the way. You can't see it because the trees have all grown up. And here I am still on the Dome of the Rock, or on the Temple Mount. And this is the main entrance. I did go over. They have a guard on the front door, and we were told that non-Muslims were not able to enter. And I talked to the guy, and he was flat-footed that have to be Muslim to go in. And so that is a disappointment, but I have been in, and I have been in the shrine underneath the rock the last time I was here. But this time we won't be able to do it. And it is their holy place, so I guess I have to agree with that. This mosque will hold about 1,000 people, and the Al-Aqsa down on the other end of the property holds about 3,000. And so anyway, so this is the Temple Mount. I'll take a swing out. It's got a lot of little domes and things, and most of this is relatively new, 500 years old instead of 2,000 or 3,000 years old. But a lot of it was done by the Turks, I guess. And now it's time to join back up with the group and run on to the next place. Mount is this, we came through the chain gate, I think he called it. And this is a shopping area. Selling lots of gummy bears, my favorite. This is pretty interesting. I don't know why there's so many closed. A lot of the little shops are boarded up, blocked up. Beautiful boxes.
Let me give me a 3-minute alert, okay? And then we're gonna go inside the Shrine of the Book where the Dead Sea Scrolls are displayed. Hold your hand over your eyes. Look at the beauty of what we're seeing. We're standing on the Mount of Olives. Look at your feet. Yeah?
This is a miniature?
No, just kidding. We are on the Mount of Olives side. Down below us is the Kidron Valley. This view is going to become very familiar to us as we go up to the Mount of Olives and explore more around the old city.
This
We're
end would have been
towards the eastern,
the treasury.
Towards the west from the eastern side.
Been,
this, as you
this
can
was
guess,
the,
is probably this gate here before us.
the way the temple would have appeared,
The Golden
built
Gate.
by
Why?
Herod.
Because it's gold, right?
And destroyed in
And
70
also
AD.
because it's on the eastern side. Look at
As
this
you can see,
situation. Look how it's
putting the gold.
located directly across from the entrance to the Holy of Holies. Now, this gate was not used that often. Okay, if at all. Probably had a door on it and was closed, not like massive allowing pilgrims up there. Why do we want that gate? The Bible tells us, out from that gate on the Day of Atonement, is going to be the goat, the scapegoat, is going to be led by the priest. Out of that, across the Kidron
Behind the
Valley,
temple, this
over
is
the Mount of
Antonio
Olives,
Fortress,
and
the
into
Roman
desert,
fortress,
where the scapegoat would
built
be
to
pushed
dominate
across
the area.
cliff, and there it will die
Remind
for
everybody that
remission of
indeed
our sins.
the Romans are in
You
charge.
get the lingo I'm using? All right, that is what works in Judaism, and you can transpose that into Christianity. This, so we're looking from the eastern, from the east,
Red roof structures
and
over here
looking westward.
would be the Pool of Bethesda.
We can see the temple, and we can see that. Remember, we got a temple wall going around. We've also got a temple structure with towers on it. Now, we'll have an opportunity to look at it in a few minutes, but we can see that we have a gate here, another gate about 2/3 of the way in, and then we have the gate of the temple itself. Everyone see that?
Yeah.
Okay, most of that you can probably see. The first gate, the outer gate, leads into the court of the women. That is the first section. And then it leads to that second gate, the double door gate, the Nicanor gate, we call it.
That's the
I
gate he's
mentioned
talking
the
about.
Nicanor gate, I believe, because the Nicanor gate had been shipped up from Egypt by a man named Nicanor. He donated the bronze gate to the establishment of the temple, gave it to Herod and the temple. The ship will wreck out of, near Jaffa, but magically the door.
Go.
Pool of Bethesda, twin pools, the red tile. To the left of that, 4 towers, Antonia Fortress, where Jesus was tried. To the left of that is the Temple Mount, Herod the Great's temple. Court of Gentiles surrounds the outer courtyard. Within, Court of Women, Court of Israelites or Court of Men, Court of Priests, and then we go into the holy place where the altar of animal sacrifice. Then the Holy of Holies is within that white building. It's empty during Jesus' day. But within that holy place building, showbread, table of showbread, menorah, and altar of incense. Golden Gate
Hang on a second.
outside the wall right there. This temple is facing east. You have the Royal Stoa on the southern end.
Okay. And the Royal Stoa was.
They don't know for sure. Maybe the money changers were in there. That's what I've read, but not
That's
sure.
what I've read too. Which direction are we looking from?
We're looking towards the north, but we're looking at the southern wall. Place of trumpeting, the left, the top, the pinnacle on the right.
Okay. Here's the pinnacle.
Pool of Siloam. It's that square that has water in it.
Okay, there's the Pool of Siloam right there.
You can see a theater. You can see that half circular building.
Yep, theater
Theater.
is further up. There is the theater. Go ahead.
Herod's Palace. You can see,
That would be Herod's Palace there.
go to the western side of the wall. You can see Robinson's Arch.
Okay, on the swing over there. That's where we were this morning. That's the replica of the actual arch.
And to the left of Robinson's Arch is Wilson's Arch.
And that's where we actually, when we were at the western wall, we were below ground, and that is where the arch, that's where we were. So that connects that for you. A little better view of the Antonio Fortress.
David's Tomb is that close cone-shaped building towards
Okay, let me
that's David's
just-
Tomb.
That's David's tomb there with the pyramid on the top. Interesting.
Palace of Caiaphas is right next to that to the left.
Okay. The one with the open courtyards in it? Okay.
Red roof.
That would be Caliph Palace, Antonio Fortress. That's Antonio Fortress. And I'll pan across again the Temple Mount again. You can see the back of the temple. And there are the arches.
Right in front of Antonia on the outside the city wall is Golgotha.
Okay, hang on a second. Okay, let's see. Orientation. So it's got to be
Kind of where
just about where that bird is.
walking towards.
Thank you, Mr. Bird. That gives you a little perspective of how big this thing is. That bird's about a foot tip to tip. It's I think it's a starling, they called it. He called it. So if nothing else, the bird gives you perspective. This is really quite spectacular. Beautiful, beautifully done model. And they've just moved it. It used to be over in the backyard of the King David Hotel, and they moved it over here. Apparently one little tiny block by block.
That's really all it's.
Okay.
I think that you would be interested in.
Thank you. Thank you, Christy. The voice of Christy Kristen, our guide and our American leader. And one thing I should point out, this is the city of David. If you really look at it, it shows how the city was built, heading up toward the great palace, or the great temple. And again, the temple is sitting at the same spot as the Dome of the Rock now sits. And this is the top of the Shrine of the Book. Looks like the top of a clay pot. And it is where they have the Dead Sea Scrolls being stored and displayed. And there'll be no photography inside, so I figured at least I would take a picture of the top of the building, and we'll go from there. We were here at Wadi Kalt this morning.
Prophet Jeremiah is from.
Oh.
Okay? Prophet Jeremiah is referred to him constantly of going into the desert. Now out here, we have another a settlement right over here called Alon. And if we were to go a little bit further, actually right up in that hill is a place called Adam. And it's right over in these hills, that story I think we already mentioned on our trip, or someone did at least, about how Elisha, the prophet, and remember Elijah and Elisha? Elijah will go up in the chariot right out there in the Jordan Valley. And then we have the story of Elisha coming from Gilgal.
Someplace out in the haze is the Dead Sea.
Into, I think, Bethel he's on his way. But anyways, it's right over in these hills where he'll curse these kids will be laughing at him because of his bald head, and he'll stick the bears on him, on the children. And it's right over in these particular hills. This is the desert it's referring to, the wilderness, the midbar in Hebrew. They're coming out constantly, and this is one, probably the.
Well, we're over near Jericho, up above. This is the Mount of Temptation, where tradition has it in the we see a Russian Orthodox monastery up here, and supposedly the piece of stone that Jesus was actually tempted on was here. Spectacular wadi or canyon coming down. I'm going to take and run you down through there. And then out through the... Now we're in the Palestinian territory now, ruled by the Palestinians. We've crossed through a heavily secured border stop, although when they found out we were American Christians, they just waved us through. Off in the distance is the Dead Sea. In front of it would be part of modern Jericho. And we're going to go over here from a nearby spot, and we're going to be able to see the ancient tell of Jericho, which dates back 8,000 to 8000 BC. So Here's one of our fearless leaders riding a camel. Uh-oh. He's taking her away. And here she comes back. The most incredible thing is watching a camel stoop down. Watch how he has to. And the guy's in the way. This has got to be the most awkward thing in the world. Well, from the monastery and the Mount of Temptation, we have been brought, a mile away. And here is the most important thing in the Tell of Jericho. This is a tower that is 10,000 years old. And he said this is the most significant thing that they have unearthed in this area. And so if you figure it was 8,000 BC.
Now, this side is known as the Old Testament Jericho, where the people of Israel, the Israelites, and captured.
There's another perspective of the same tower. Interesting, this is now in the occupied territory, actually being run, it's not occupied any longer, it's actually being run and administered by the Palestinians. And there has not been one thing done from when we visited this 13 years ago. It just looks like the same place. So there really has been no real progress made on even on their dig. It was kind of a shame. And here I'll give you a little perspective. The fence right in the foreground is where we were videotaping that we're standing on top of the Tell of Jericho. And I'll swing around. You can see some of their agriculture. And this is all Tell that we're standing on. Not the telephone company, that is. All Tell all the time. And then this is the modern city of Jericho. You can really see the poverty when you cross into the Palestinian territories. Israel has about a $20,000 to $21,000 per capita income, and the West Bank occupied territories, or however you want to call it, it drops down to about $500 to $600 according to the Encyclopedia Britannica World Edition. And Christy is reading the story of the fall of the wall of Jericho. Appropriate place to read it. Well, here in Jericho, we have appropriately stopped in downtown Jericho to see an enormous sycamore tree. And this would have been the same kind of tree, probably not the tree, they're not old enough, that Zacchaeus would have climbed up into the tree in order to see Christ Jesus as he was coming along in a crowd on the street. And of course he climbs up, and then the story goes on that Jesus would see him and ask him to come down, and then go to his home and bless his home because he makes restitution for some of the bad things that he's done in his life. So this is a sycamore
area.
We're here in the West Bank now.
Very, very few Christians living here. The vast majority is Palestinian Muslims.
Voice of our guide Elijah. Not the one from the Bible, he'd be really old by now. Gives you an idea of their
You can
architecture.
see sign here in Arabic and in Hebrew, because in the past, like Israelis used to come here for shopping, because comparatively speaking, this area was much cheaper than Jerusalem. So many Israelis will come here for shopping, for furniture, for food, for clothes, etc. But now, unfortunately, from the northern side, you know, there is a wall that separates Bethany from Jerusalem, and from here, from the other side, from the side we get in, it's forbidden for Israelis to come in by law, by Israeli law.
This is Bethany, town of Mary and Martha and Lazarus. And this is the church.
I believe as we So we are in the Church of Bethany, and there were several churches here. The first were built by the Byzantines in the early 4th century. But this didn't last for long because there was a huge earthquake in the area and it collapsed. And we can still see part of its mosaic there on the lower level. And there's like openings, you can see mosaic. And how we know it is like from the 4th century? We know because has crosses. Whenever we see a cross on the floor, we know that the mosaic floor is from the 4th century because in the rebuilt the church. And we could see also
Raising of Lazarus.
Like a mosaic of the Justinian church, and he made it like a bigger one. It was like up to like this level, then he extended it and moved it like almost the same size we see this church.
Beautiful mosaics up on the ceiling or on the walls.
Now this church survived the Justinian one until the Crusader, who rebuilt like the Crusader time as much they built two churches, one of the two, and also built a monastery for the Benedictine nuns. And the one who was in charge there was her name Yvette. She was.
And this is a mustard seed, a mustard tree. And these are the flowers on it. Of course, Christ Jesus says about, if you have faith as a grain of mustard seed, because it goes from being the smallest of seeds to the largest of trees. Even the birds roost in it. And here in Bethany, as we're waiting for the getting in to see Lazarus' tomb, we are next to a little mosque, and you can hear the call to prayer going out over Bethany. Here's the mosque. Lazarus' tomb is actually in a Greek Orthodox church. The call to prayer.
Talking about a couple-hour walk from Bethlehem
This is
to
Bethlehem.
the old city. Okay, so think about David growing up in this little city of Bethlehem.
That would have been
as you're
King
there.
David's city.
and making his journey
then I'll
to the
come
Canaanite
around.
city perhaps when he's a kid. Perhaps looking over the biblical border between Benjamin and Judah, a place he wouldn't cross because there's a Canaanite area. But as he grows up, he perhaps makes friends with them and then ends up
There
buying some land in that area and says that
is,
one day when
the
I'm
Mount of
king,
Olives
I'll make that my future,
and Mount
my
Scopus.
future
We are
home.
currently on
I'll have to
Herodian.
take the Canaanite city, but I'll make that my future
Zoom in
home.
here. Oh,
What are we
man, hard
seeing
to
right
hold it
here
this
though? Let's get
close.
under here and then we'll maybe have a little bit more of a view. We're looking at this is what's been excavated a while now. This particular area. The monumental staircase
On a tripod,
leads
it's a
up
little
from
hard to
the
hold
north
it, but
into the
in there
the city itself.
is
Okay. Now what are we seeing here?
the golden dome of
We
the
have-
Dome of the Rock.
And it's going to be more clear up there. Herodium was built on
I actually
nothing
can't see the
literally,
screen
maybe
well
just
enough.
a
I
small
can just
little
pick
bit
out where I'm
of a
at. So
hill. But all of this has
hopefully
been
when I
piled
get
up,
home, I'll look
piled
at it and
up,
go,
piled
cool,
up.
there it is.
Then they would build 2 walls on the mountainside, and then they would fill in all that area to where this entire hill has a cone-like shape. And I'll read Joseph's quote on the bus to save a little time. But Josephus mentioned there's 200 steps going up, and there was this is when he's talking about the monumental
over
procession
here
on the day Herod died.
is the huge
We'll
pool,
also try to mention
Olympic-sized
that.
pool
But
with an island in the
nonetheless,
middle.
When they build on the
Swim
hillside here,
bar,
they have to,
probably.
when they want to make this step, in order
kidding.
to keep all the fill
This is all
from
built by
collapsing onto
Herodian the Great.
that stairway,
Or
they
Herod
have
the
to
Great.
build a wall, right, between both sides, a retaining wall, and then they build arches, periodical arches, which go over the staircase. So it's
This
like
is
a
the
tunnel,
entryway.
if you will, and that's going to help.
And down here
keep the
someplace
pressure,
is
off those
has
walls.
been found
If we look down over here,
the
just to our
tomb
left,
of Herod
right
the
here
Great.
Now, we're seeing the excavations undergoing right now to what they believe is discovered King Herod's tomb. It's located right here. Yes,
Which is Bethlehem.
all of that area.
All of them.
Yes, all up in the hills.
Well, here the other direction, looking at Herodian. Guide tells us that this tower had about 60 rooms in it, probably bedrooms and as well as storage, and it would have been about twice this height. And there were 3 towers. This was the tallest of the towers. And then down inside, you can see there's a open courtyard, but it does have pillars, so he said there probably was a roof of some sort over that for shade. And we're going to be going down through those stairs in the lower right-hand corner down through the secret exit tunnel. And just shows you some of the site. Herod actually had slave labor build this mountain. That it was not a natural function or natural occurrence. He actually just got a bunch of slaves and said, "Okay, build me a mountain." And when it got high enough, then he built this up on the top of it. And this guy liked to build, I'll tell you. And off in the distance, let's see, in the center, that is Nazareth in that direction. And then if you swing around this way, again you can see the Temple Mount just barely. Right out to the center of the screen. David just pointed out to me that there's a huge lizard here at Herodian. He's sitting on one of the walls. And here we are going down through Herodian, the secret passageway. It's nice and cool in here, and the steps are a little tough. When we did this 13 years ago, we did it by candlelight. And I don't remember being steel stairs anywhere, so this is a little easier. He said that the Zealots, when they were fighting against the Romans, developed this down here in order to hide. And we'll turn this way. Eton, straight or down?
really only one way out. 1 second.
There's a split here.
Don't worry.
And look at, it's like a catacomb. This is cool. This wasn't all open when we were here before.
Had, been abandoned really
Continuing
after
on
having
down
the
these
Sophia
steps.
Museum. So they don't need it anymore. And you can glimpse up here, the tunnel system splits off in all kinds of directions. Archaeologists still haven't removed the dirt from a lot of these areas. Now, basically on the walls you're seeing in some places reinforced concrete, like they sprayed concrete on the walls, so because it's very brittle, so it wouldn't.
Yeah,
so
this
the
is
ceiling wouldn't collapse
this has
on
all
it.
been completed. The stairs were all rough hewn when we came through. These have all been gunnited in.
They did nice though, so because it looks like really,
Yeah.
it looks like natural.
Ouch. Head again.
Otherwise it'd be like this, see?
Oops.
And you can break it off.
See where the emergency exit goes out. And further on, walking down through here. That's our Eitan, our guide, leading us along. And he will bring us to a swimming pool, isn't it?
This is another cistern.
Another cistern.
This is a Herodian cistern. So see, they cut, and bumped into another cistern.
Gosh, this is huge. Steps. I don't know what the steps are. I'm going to follow back.
Another cistern area, check it out. And again.
Here we go down another set of stairs.
Living quarters.
Yeah, they've completely redone this. The stone steps that we walked were very all rough-hewn actual steps, and what they've done is come in and they've gunnited it, sprayed it with concrete and smoothed everything to turn it into a way to get through. Plus, they've completely lighted it. And when we came through, we had to use they gave us candles and lit the candles. So that took some of the fun out of it. I was going to shoot it all in night vision with the candlelight, but it's okay. So that is the escape tunnels from Herodian. And here on one side of Herodian is a military complex of some sort.
Trying to talk to us.
But you could hear me periodically, just like.
No, they were laughing and telling us we couldn't hear over you.
Well, I could hear that you were speaking, but I couldn't make out.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Even when we were quiet.
That's what was going on, Donna. You should just snap at them. You guys need to do that. Don't be nice guys. You gotta experience it. I can hear them at all. But it is amazing.
And here is the pool from Herod's day with the swim up bar in the middle.
Apses really existed still. How much more you'd hear. Okay, let's
This
go.
archway that all these people are jamming into is the Church of the Nativity. We're here in Bethlehem. This is the traditional site where the manger would have been and where Christ Jesus' birth was. It's a Catholic site, Catholic church. And we're going to drive our way in here, along with 73,000 other people. This is the Church of the Nativity. He wants us over to the side. He said this is the oldest church in the Middle East.
Okay, my American group, get closer to me.
Close up the ranks.
About the history of the church, the place, while we are standing. So we are in the Church of Nativity that's built over the cave where we believe Jesus was born. Now, let me tell you a little bit about how people lived in the old times. People used to live in caves. And up till today, we have in certain areas people who's living in a cave or part of their house is a cave. When these people get a little bit of more money, they will build a room on top of the cave, and this room is called the upper room. In Greek, we call it kataloma. If we read in the Bible, the story of Nativity in Greek, 2nd chapter of Luke, it says no place for them in the upper room. What happened at that time? As you know, that the Romans called for census.
This is the ultimate in mosh pit. This is the entry down into the Church of the Nativity to see the cave. And we're trying to make some progress, but it doesn't look good here. And here's Christy. I can see the side of her nose. Here's Dorothy.
Shoots back at us.
It's not really crowded until you can see the inside of it.
Yeah, that's true.
С правой стороны сейчас будет видно звезда. С правой стороны. 14 рублей. Вы положите веску, вот этот сувенирчик.
Okay,
Положите его.
Susan, you just go forward.
I'll go down after him.
You step down.
Потом
When she steps
взять
forward, you
его и
move
выходи с
down.
другой стороны. Вот так будем.
We're going to try to funnel this through here. This is quite a fascinating experience.
You're the last two.
Yeah, yeah.
This is where the five oil lamps. You can go and see the manger where he slept. And below the altar here is the place where he was born.
In the manger, below the lamp.
Yeah, the below the lamps. Yes, yeah.
Есть свечки у нас?
If you want to, you need to like kind of push it.
Yeah, let's just keep moving.
Поднимайтесь наверх. Дайте возможности другим тоже сделать это место.
That's the manger down below. And here we are going to take a little walk down to the Lazarus tomb, where Christ Jesus would call to Lazarus to come out of the grave. And we're just kind of stumbling our way down the steps here. Okay, and here we go a little further down, sorry.
It's so cool. You need to climb in there.
Maybe, let me just get. Oh, I can look over there. That's good. Thank you. Ah, good. I can look up there. That was.
Well, they're back up already.
Want hands? Wait,
And we got people coming out of the hole down in the basement here.
let some of us get
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Barb, I like your idea.
You're okay. Angels ascending and descending.
I was in there as well.
Anybody else down there? I'm not going by myself.
You only can go one at a time, and then you have somebody else in there.
Go on in, Mary.
You take a picture of my bottom of your dead.
And in here would be the, what is thought to be the tomb where Lazarus would have been. And there is this is a hole that's punched through up above so that you can see.
I would have come there right then.
But in actual fact, this would have been the hole through which Lazarus supposedly would have had to have come up out of.
That's pretty tough.
So,
Because you can look right through.
Lazarus' tomb. And I'll start
So it
back
wasn't
up
like
here.
that then.
This is the stairs that we came down to get in here.
This has all been laminated and added into.
Because let's say you have.
This is buried deep under a mosque. The mosque sits on top.
On the Mount of Olives. panning down towards the Garden of Gethsemane.
This would be the garden.
The Kidron Valley is between the Mount of Olives and the Temple Mount. The Golden Gate on the eastern side. Dome of the Rock, where the Herod the Great's temple probably was.
Okay.
Pinnacle of the temple, in the southeast corner, the Temple Mount. The southern wall, the steps where Jesus would have entered into the temple.
Okay, I'm going to zoom in on those. Pinnacle is the high point right in the corner. And you can see all of the rubble and the steps that we were on a couple of days ago. Okay.
Across that street and to the left of that is the city of David.
Okay, once you get beyond this street, going straight up in the middle of the picture, that becomes the city of David. And that runs out down into the... Thank you, Christy. Jerusalem. And again, this is the Garden of Gethsemane here. Beautiful domes of the Russian Orthodox Church there. Where am I at? Right here. Gold-plated domes. And what Christy was talking about, she was just showing us that is the Golden Gate. Oops, nope, I'm sorry, I'm too far over. It's hard on the little screen with a lot of sunlight to see where you're at. And let's see, that's Golden Gate right there. We were told that the Turks boarded that up when they took over, because the prophecy said that the Jesus' second coming of the Christ the Golden Gate would be where he would enter the Temple Mount. And so they said, well, let me see if we board it up, cement it over, we don't have to worry about this guy coming back and pestering us. And there is the Dome of the Rock. Thought to be where the threshing floor, where it would be the site where Abraham almost sacrifices Isaac, and also the place where Muhammad starts his revelation of the Quran. And this is the Al-Aqsa Mosque. The Al-Aqsa Mosque was the site where the King of Jordan in 1953, I think it was assassinated. And just down from there were, again, the stairs that we were on yesterday. And right in this corner was the one single step that they were absolutely sure was the step that was the exit from the temple. So Christ Jesus would have had to have walked across that. These are tombs of the first century.
Some over here, which are called
these are ossuaries, I think is the way he called it. They are bone boxes.
That's the predominant kind we're seeing.
You would have buried the body, let it sit for 11 months till it decayed, and then you come back, collect up the bones, and you would put the bones into these boxes.
In which you could be a stone, okay?
And we are on the Mount of Olives, showing that this is a burial site. It shows how the burial site would have been sealed up.
The body would have been laid inside of that shaft, and then a shaft would have been laid, a capstone would have been laid over, and the body would have then been brought out around 11 months later. The bones would have been collected and placed in those bone boxes. Look at that. These bone boxes were sometimes made of wood, it's cheaper. We have them at Jericho, we found them, because the dry preserve it.
And now to give you the ultimate in peace and tranquility, those quiet little spots. Here is the Garden of Gethsemane. Oh, unfortunately, it just cleared. We had about 9 cars all jammed in this corner, trying to run each other over. But this is the Garden of Gethsemane, and at some point we're going to cross the street and go in, waiting to find out what's going on.
Victory. Give a donation at the
We have come here to the Garden of Gethsemane. I don't think you'll be able to hear Christy over the traffic and the preacher behind us.
Describes the occasion of Passover. She says that Passover was Jesus ate with his disciples in the book of Isaiah. On the night before his crucifixion was a mournful occasion, the same supper taken, twilight, glorious career, shadows fast falling around. This supper closed forever Jesus' ritualism or concessions to manner. Their master was about to suffer violence and drain to the dregs his cup of sorrow. He must leave them with the great glory and everlasting victory overshadowing him. He gave thanks and said, "Drink ye all of it." Once the betrayer leaves, Jesus begins his farewell discourses to the 11. And I think it's very significant because at this time, according to John's chronology, that Jesus prophesies to come. Knowing what's coming, knowing the agony and the trials and the so-called suffering, he is promising
And here, for a little different perspective, the Garden of Gethsemane would be behind me. The Mount of Olives, this is the Kidron Valley in front of me. And of course, that's the Temple Mount up ahead, or up above. The gate in the center is the Golden Gate. It would be sealed by the Turks in order to stop the fulfillment of the second coming of Christ. They said, well, if the Golden Gate is closed, which is the gate that Christ Jesus went in. And so we're going to, I'm being called because our bus just pulled up, and that's it. And behind me, this is the, oh heck, I can't remember what church. We did not go into it. It's, you know, just another, here's where it happened church. I believe this has got to be the church covering the site where Christ Jesus was supposed to have asked this cup to pass from me. I prefer the outdoor site of the Garden of Gethsemane because obviously that's a much more traditional site than something buried under a church, but has a beautiful facade on it, as you can see. And we're going to kind of forego going into the churches because they are so crowded and so commercial. And here's just getting to the Lion Gate, and all these little children just came walking out on a field trip. What a crew. Here is the Lion's Gate. And yep, the Lion's Gate was built for cars. And here are the lions. The Crusaders called this St. Stephen's Gate, although that's a later tradition, Aton tells us. So it would not necessarily be Stephen's, the gate that Stephen was stoned from.
Also the flooring is even cobblestone, so be careful of your steps.